When Khabib Nurmagomedov was still fighting in the octagon, he wasn't one guy to mess around with. He was mostly calm, disciplined, and respectful. But once someone crossed the line, all of that went out the window.
You know, I can't believe we're gonna fight, you know, because I really want this guy. Make him humble, not only smash, like change his face. I wanna change his face.
While Khabib wasn't the type to talk trash without reason, if you disrespected him, it never ended well.
Look at him. Oh, and now Khabib jumps the fence. And he's going right at Dylan Dennis. Mayhem.
Here are the top 5 fighters Khabib Nurmagomedov hated the most. Starting at number 5, we have Tony Ferguson. Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson were like two unstoppable trains on a collision course that somehow never collided. And that's what made their rivalry so painful for fight fans around the world. It all started back in 2015, when both men were climbing the lightweight ladder, destroying everyone in their path. Khabib had his undefeated streak and his terrifying grappling.
Now in the mount, and this could be bad news for Belarus, and he's finishing it. That's it. According to plan, welcome to America.
Tony was unpredictable, with elbows, submissions, and non-stop pressure.
Rio's in trouble. Rio's in trouble.
He's gonna look for the neck.
There's that Darce choke again. He loves this technique. He got it. Tony Ferguson.
The UFC clearly saw the potential, so they booked them the first time, but Khabib got injured. No problem. They rescheduled. But then Tony got hurt. Again and again, the UFC kept trying to make it happen. 5 times in total, this fight was officially announced, and 5 times it fell apart. The MMA gods seemed to have cursed this matchup. However, Khabib still desired to see this match come to reality.
I put this guy name on my list, and then I can say who else, and nobody can say nothing. You know.
While fans waited, the trash talk heated up. Khabib mocked Tony's fighting style, saying he was sloppy and always hurt. Tony called Khabib a fake champion and accused him of pulling out on purpose. Neither held back in interviews.
You're fat, you're slow, and you have no rhythm. I mold people.
You're flat-footed, you have no rhythm, and you're one-dimensional.
When cage close, I'm gonna smash him. I'm gonna make him flat, make him tighted.
Then came the interim champion drama. When Khabib had to step away due to injuries and health issues related to weight cuts, Tony kept winning and eventually claimed the interim lightweight belt. But instead of defending it or fighting Khabib for the undisputed title, Tony's path took a turn. He tripped over a wire at a media event, tore his knee, and was forced out of the title fight.
Tony Ferguson hurt himself. He tore his LCL. And apparently that's an injury that you don't need surgery on, but he actually tore it off the bone. He's going to need surgery.
The belt was stripped, and Khabib ended up winning the undisputed championship without ever fighting Tony. That only added more fuel to the fire. Fans were screaming for the fight. Every interview, every press conference, they were always asked about each other, and the answers were never polite. Things reached a boiling point in 2020. The UFC finally got them to sign on the dotted line again. UFC 249. This was supposed to be it. The fight to settle the score, posters were out, promo videos were rolling. But then COVID hit. The world shut down. International flights were canceled, and Khabib, stuck in Russia, couldn't leave. Yet again, the fight collapsed. Tony ended up fighting Justin Gaethje instead, and it was a brutal mistake. He got dismantled and lost for the first time in years.
Look at that. Oh my goodness.
Shots taken by one person.
Well, this is not a regular human, right?
Real hurt.
Oh, he's hurt bad. They're going to stop the fight.
That's it.
Oh, man.
Justin Gaethje.
Wow.
After that, the window closed. Khabib retired undefeated later that year, with the Ferguson fight as the biggest what-if of his career. Tony's career spiraled downward after the Gaethje loss, and with each defeat, fans slowly gave up hope that the dream matchup would ever happen. But while that rivalry faded with time, another name was quickly added to Khabib's bad blood list, and that was Dylan Dennis. The feud between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Dylan Dennis began with the build-up to Khabib's fight against Conor McGregor at UFC 229. Dennis, who was one of McGregor's main training partners at the time, played a big role in the chaos leading up to the fight. During press events and interviews, he made sure to throw jabs at Khabib, sometimes online, sometimes in person. He backed up McGregor in every way and made it clear he had no respect for Khabib or his team.
He's all right. He's not really a passer. You don't really see him passing the guard too much. His wrestling is really good. But, in my opinion, I think if you put Conor and Khabib in a grappling match, I think a lot of people would be surprised. I think Conor could beat him in a grappling match.
Now, Khabib already had serious issues with McGregor because of the trash talk, the insults toward his religion, his father, and his country. So when Khabib stepped into that cage in October 2018, he wasn't just fighting for a belt, he was fighting for pride. After 4 rounds, Khabib submitted McGregor with a tight neck crank. But instead of celebrating in the cage, Khabib did something that shocked everyone. He jumped over the fence and went straight for Dillon Danis, who was outside the octagon.
And now Khabib jumps the fence. Whoa! No! And he's going right at Dillon Danis. Mayhem!
Later, it came out that Danis had been shouting things at Khabib right after the fight ended. Some reports said he was taunting him, calling him names, and trying to provoke him.
One of Conor's guys was talking smack to Khabib, and Khabib just ran and dove over the octagon and went after him. While that was happening, 2 of Khabib's guys jump over the octagon and go after Conor.
Whether that's exactly what set Khabib off or not, we'll never know for sure, but he clearly saw Danis as part of the disrespect that had surrounded the build-up to the fight. Here was what Danis had to say about the incident.
I was posting him drinking whiskey and shit like that, and he was like, and like one of his managers messaged me like, "We're gonna fuck you in the ass." And I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? During that whole fight, Khabib was going at me, Islam was going at me, and I kind of saw it kind of getting like that.
The UFC fined Khabib and suspended him for the post-fight brawl. Danis also got in trouble, but he played the moment up, turning himself into even more of a villain online. Still, the tension never fully died. Anytime Danis popped up in headlines, especially if it involved trash talk, Khabib's name wasn't far behind. Even years after the brawl, Danis kept bringing Khabib up in interviews, still trying to poke at the old rivalry. At some point, he even mentioned that he could beat Khabib if they both entered the octagon.
Couldn't beat Khabib, could he?
Oh,
no one's
easy.
ever beaten Khabib.
I would beat Khabib.
No one's beaten.
Yeah, well, he hasn't fought me.
But Khabib had moved on, especially after retiring undefeated in 2020. He made it clear that he didn't respect Danis and didn't see him as a real fighter. At number 3 on our list of fighters Khabib hated the most, we've got Nate Diaz. Back in 2015, at a World Series of Fighting event in Las Vegas, the feud between Nate Diaz and Khabib was born. Khabib wasn't fighting that night. He was just there with his team watching from cage side. Nate Diaz was there too, and he had never been the type to sit quietly. The moment the two groups crossed paths, things got heated fast. According to reports, it was Nate who threw the first punch, and Khabib's team didn't back down. The bad blood only got worse after that. Nate later claimed that Khabib had been disrespectful to him and his team, and he wasn't going to let it slide. Khabib, on the other hand, said Nate and his crew acted like street gangsters and that they tried to start problems for no reason.
When I ran into him and his team at the World Series of Fighting, they were taking a group picture because I was standing there watching Jake, my friend, fight, and they took a picture with me behind him just to laugh at me, like make fun of me. And I'm watching my friend walk out, trying to watch his fight, and then he's like, ha, come on, man, and they're all laughing. Like 12 Russian dudes. He came in and he's like, then I got kicked out, didn't get to see my friend fight. I was outside furious, so I waited for his mother ass to come outside of there.
But even after that night, the feud didn't die down. Every now and then, they'd take shots at each other in interviews or online. Khabib would call the Diaz brothers fake tough guys, saying they talked too much and didn't back it up. When Khabib was asked about fighting with Diaz in the octagon, here was what he said.
I asked 3 times UFC asked me fight versus Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz 3 times said, hey, I don't want somebody catch me, like grab me. This is not boxing, this is MMA. You know, I can fight with Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez, with all these guys same night.
The beef between these two nearly boiled over again in 2018 at UFC 239 during International Fight Week. Khabib and Nate were both in attendance, and when they crossed paths at T-Mobile Arena, it almost exploded again. Security quickly stepped in before things got physical, but the tension was real. Fans even caught video of them yelling at each other, with both sides having to be separated before it turned into another full-blown fight. Despite all the history, the UFC never matched them up, mostly because they were always on different paths. Khabib was chasing the lightweight title, staying laser-focused on his goals, while Nate picked and chose fights on his own terms. But even though they never fought, their rivalry became one of those classic MMA storylines. Another classic MMA storyline unfolded between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Eddie Alvarez. And Alvarez wasn't just another name on the roster. He was one more fighter who found himself on Khabib's bad side. That makes him number 2 on our list. The feud between Khabib and Alvarez never exploded the way some of Khabib's other rivalries did, but there was still real tension, especially during the time Eddie held the UFC lightweight title. Back in 2016, Eddie Alvarez was the newly crowned champ after knocking out Rafael dos Anjos.
Uppercuts! Does he step in? That is it! Eddie Alvarez is the...
He was on top of the world, and suddenly, everyone in the division wanted a piece of him, including Khabib, who was undefeated and tearing through the lightweight rankings. Khabib had already racked up multiple dominant wins, and many believed he should have been next in line for the title. He certainly believed it, and he let the UFC and Eddie know it. Khabib called Eddie out publicly, saying he was ducking real contenders and looking for easier fights.
I think he won't make money, like fight with McGregor or Nate Diaz, but I don't understand why he don't want to fight with me. I can make him take down and I can make him finish.
He didn't hide how frustrated he was with the way things were going. He wanted that title shot, and he wanted Alvarez to prove he was a real champion. But Eddie had other ideas. Instead of accepting Khabib's challenge, he went after Conor McGregor, who at the time was chasing his second UFC belt.
Yeah, I got my eye on Nate Diaz, Conor. I would love to fight the winner of that whole crew. I keep getting asked by all the media, you fight all the best guys in the world, and at the end of the day, the media asks you, what about Conor McGregor?
The UFC booked that fight, and just like that, Khabib was sidelined once again. This move lit a fire under Khabib. He saw it as blatant disrespect, not just from Alvarez, but from the UFC itself. To make things even worse, Khabib was promised a title shot more than once.
Alvarez versus Conor, I understand everything. Pay-per-view show, like everything. If UFC put my name versus Alvarez, this is real fight, but this is not pay-per-view fight. I understand this. If you wanna make this bullshit fight, don't send me contract. Don't use my name. I am not small guy.
Once McGregor destroyed Alvarez at UFC 205 and took the belt, the spotlight shifted again, but Khabib didn't forget. He continued calling out both Eddie and Conor, accusing them of avoiding him because they knew what would happen if they stepped into the cage with him. Eddie and Khabib never fought, and the feud eventually lost steam. Eddie left the UFC, while Khabib went on to dominate the lightweight division, becoming the undefeated champ many thought he always should have been. It is impossible to talk about Khabib's most hated fighters without mentioning Conor McGregor. Their feud was legendary, one of the most intense rivalries in MMA history. That's why McGregor takes the top spot on this list. The feud between these two stands as one of the most intense and personal rivalries in UFC history. The animosity began to build in early 2018. Khabib had confronted McGregor's teammate, Artem Lobov, in a hotel hallway, leading to a heated exchange.
Artem and Khabib. He ain't playing.
In retaliation, McGregor and his entourage attacked a bus carrying Khabib and other fighters during UFC 223 Media Day in Brooklyn. McGregor threw a dolly at the bus, shattering windows and injuring fighters inside.
What the fuck?
That's why. Oh yeah, fucking Jesus Christ! Dude, what the?
This act led to multiple fight cancellations and legal consequences for McGregor. The UFC capitalized on the growing tension, officially booking the fight between Khabib and McGregor for UFC 229 in October 2018. The pre-fight buildup was marked by McGregor's relentless trash talk, targeting Khabib's religion, family, and homeland. He even insulted Khabib's manager, calling him a snitch terrorist rat.
Face forward, guys. Grab your back.
Shut your mouth, Ali Abdulaziz, mad terrorist, terrorist snitch.
Ali.
I know a lot about you as well, you mad rat. How's Noah, huh? Yeah, shut your mouth. Never speak about me, ever in your life. Watch yourself around me, because you'll be out here quick.
When the fight finally took place, Khabib dominated. He controlled the bout with his superior grappling, ultimately submitting McGregor in the 4th round. However, the victory was overshadowed by what happened next.
Look at him. Oh, and now Khabib jumps the fence. Whoa! No! And he's going right at Dylan Dennis. Mayhem! Oh, no. Total chaos.
Khabib leaped over the cage and charged at McGregor's cornerman, Dylan Dennis, sparking a massive brawl. Simultaneously, members of Khabib's team entered the octagon and confronted McGregor, leading to chaos both inside and outside the cage. The aftermath was severe. The Nevada State Athletic Commission suspended Khabib for 9 months and fined him $500,000. McGregor received a 6-month suspension and a $50,000 fine. Khabib's teammates involved in the melee were also suspended and fined. Despite the turmoil, Khabib remained unapologetic about defending his honor. He expressed regret for the post-fight chaos, but emphasized that McGregor's personal attacks had crossed the line. McGregor, on the other hand, expressed interest in a rematch, but Khabib dismissed the idea, stating that McGregor needed to earn his way back.